Hi, welcome back to Hard Hats and Headspace. This week, as you will notice very quickly, I'm doing this podcast solo. There are some podcasts recorded and going through editing at present, but I felt like I wanted to strike the right note because when this podcast is released will be Wednesday the 10th of September, which is World Suicide Prevention Day. The theme for that this year is changing the narrative about how we talk to each other, what the causes are of damage to your mental health. We all have mental health. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not so good, sometimes it's a bit more poor. And that change in the narrative can be used, the phraseology that's used, sort of completing suicide. We all have issues with our mental health. And I've been there. And early last year, I got diagnosed as an ADHD, which was a very little surprise to me. But please to understand this is what it is. This is what caused that. But also, I got diagnosed with anxiety and depression, and the causation of that goes back many years. I sat through quite a lot of counselling with an excellent psychologist and psychiatrist who helped me understand me better and how I can control my life and not necessarily other people's lives, but more importantly, how I react to those. So the change in the narrative part that I'm going to take that as I mean it is what we can do to help other people who are struggling. Some of the things that triggered my dip towards the beginning of last year and ongoing recovery, I don't feel like I am fully there. I'm in a much better place. My family and friends would tell you the same, and colleagues that I work with. And it's the world of work that I found brilliant in helping me, because the issues that triggered my dip in mental health came from my private life. Not uncommon during the COVID years, really. Well, it wasn't COVID as such. There were issues, What does it mean for your job in the early stages? What does it mean for your career and who you are? It changes the way we work. But there were health issues that were very different within my family. Both children suffered the impacts of homeschooling. My daughter started secondary school in lockdown. It's difficult. I know she's not alone on that. My son as well, who is also an ADHD, struggled massively without the social interaction. And as their parent, you try and help them and you try and guide them through and find a way for them to cope through those difficult times. And it brought a really stronger bond between me and my kids. We have a great relationship. I'm very lucky to have such a relationship with them. And then just to add more fuel to that fire, if you like, there's the issues I had. We had issues with the neighbour, which was difficult to deal with, nasty. And I won't go into the details of that, but it was unpleasant to say the least, to the point where we relocated to a different place. And all through this time, I had friends at work. And I mean friends, not just colleagues, good people that allowed me to be my best and to have a break from that home difficulties. One person that remained completely strong for me throughout that was my wife. She's incredible, and ultimately she saw the dip in me and helped me to get some help and to speak out and give me confidence, really, that I'm not alone in struggling with our mental health issues, and sought some help from other people. She herself has had some really difficult issues, and I've mentioned this in previous podcasts, but we had a hellish week. And in many ways, if it wasn't for who I work for and private medical insurance, things would definitely have turned out differently. But I got my wife a medical health assessment as an add-on to my private medical insurance through my employer. And she went along and did the medical, much annoyed at me for making her go and do it and bug her till she booked it. But the outcome was that they found something. They found a lump during a mammogram. It was the last thing they did in the health assessment because everything else was tickety-boo. And within weeks, ironically, she rang me from Euston, which was my place of work at the time, and told me, I've just had a call from Bupa and they found something and need to go in. And it's not my story to tell the full details of that, but later that week, we then found out that her dad was diagnosed with stage 4 prostate cancer. And he is a strong-willed man of a different generation. You know, he'd be 92 shortly. So that was a tough week that week, and it was my responsibility, I felt, to manage kids, manage their emotions, to support my wife and be there for her. My line manager at the time was incredible, Paul, very supportive, and I thank him a lot for allowing me to continue to be myself and do my work in the best way that I possibly could. There were a number of initiatives that helped me as well through this that we did in the workplace that really allowed me the strength and guidance. And I've mentioned them before, but one in particular is something we did and called the Lions Barber Collective. I've had Tom Chapman on this podcast before, and he was incredible to me, and certainly Dan as well. Dan the barber, my good mate. He is going great guns, but you know, everyone had experienced their own impacts on their mental health, and what they allowed me to understand was it was okay to speak up. It was really good to talk to people. So when it came to moving on to see a psychologist and a psychiatrist, I was more open to being honest about my issues. And the issues that I felt were prominent, what I could see in myself, was I didn't like myself very much. I'm a nice guy, and you know, I get on with most people that I meet in life. I like to see people treated fairly. I'm a fair person, and I like fairness in the workplace and in life. When I was going through the issues, I'm also a football coach, and I love coaching the football team. So how do we change the narrative? How do we look at what people see companies doing or accuse companies of not doing? I see a lot of criticisms of, you know, big companies and big contractors. What are they doing about the suicide epidemic? And in construction, by the way, it is a scary level, and what companies can do. I'm going to talk about a couple of initiatives today that I've heard about, and one you'll have heard about before, but I want to go into a bit more depth. But as a company, as a business, as an employer, my advice to the leadership of any business would be to empower your workforce to bring about solutions with you. Don't just preach. That is incredibly important. You'll see why when I come on to Johnny and Matt's work and what they're doing in the workplace. But by having an employer that allows you to bring solutions to the workplace, maybe not solutions, but offerings, help and assistance to each other. You as an employer, by supporting those initiatives, are allowing attempts at improving mental health of your workforce. And the people that work for you will respect you for that, and respect the business for that, and appreciate that. And it brings some loyalty in a tough industry, as construction is, from people where they have the opportunity to go and work on other projects, to say, well, I want to work for this company because they look after me and they allow the people around me to look after me. And that's incredible. You know, empowerment from leaders to speak up, to say this thing might not help, this level of welfare might not help, this level of scrutiny on particular tasks might not help. It's only going to improve you and your business and your ability to lead. There are great initiatives, and I've said this as well many times. I am never going to knock any initiative that works towards improving mental health and therefore potentially preventing a suicide. And here's the difficult thing about suicide prevention. You can't count how many people you saved. It is impossible because they are still here. But every single one that you may have saved is worth the effort. Every single one, for every penny. I'm going to go back to the Lions Barber Collective shortly, but there are other initiatives and great, excellent resources out there. Mates in Mind, fantastic. Their Start the Conversation training for managers and line managers and leaders is industry leading. And I think it's stuff that we are embracing. It allows you the skills to grow and make it your own. You don't have to be sticking to anyone's script. You've got your own mind and mouth, but you are more educated in how to speak. There are organizations such as the Lighthouse Charity who help you and help your organizations, and most importantly, the people you work with every day. And they bring with them and deliver unforeseen benefits, such as supporting each other, such as supporting families and those in hardship. So I love what the Lighthouse Charity do. And obviously I'll be sharing links and information about this as well at the end of the podcast and in the descriptors on your platform, whether that's Spotify or Apple Podcasts or YouTube. So I want to talk a bit first and foremost about the Adam Taylor Project and Jonathan Pankhurst and Matthew Collins, my two colleagues who work on night shifts at Heathrow Airport and work for Mace, as I do. And they set about an awareness campaign, if you like, for looking after originally their Mace colleagues at Heathrow, but quickly realised this needed to be about the workforce working nights. And what about ye? What about ye? Can't do the accent, Johnny does, but was about asking that question. What about you in the morning, in the evening, the start of your shift, and making sure people are all right and looking at things like nutrition and balanced sleep routines, getting out physically and mentally fit and bringing people together to realise what's best for them. You know, whether that was a critique of what's served in the canteens or in the welfare facilities, through to just how we address people and how we interact with people at work. Really important. And that was in their mind until an incident happened where a colleague of theirs who worked for a logistics contractor in the aviation world at the airports, Gatwick and Heathrow, called Adam Taylor. And Adam had worked in the night shift logistics space for several years as an operative. And he'd recently transitioned to work as a driver on day shifts. Unfortunately, on the 30th of October last year, 2024, Johnny and Matt got to work and received devastating news that Adam had completed suicide. To say that they and the entire family of colleagues at Heathrow were shocked is an understatement. The news hit him hard, really hard. He was 34 years old and a dad of 3 children. I am reading notes here. None of Adam's colleagues knew he was suffering from poor mental health. From what they tell me, he was always got a smile, always there for us, for each other, and never someone to say no. So it was a complete shock to everyone. So Johnny and Matt went to his funeral and were completely moved. And it just seemed unthinkable to them. And they tell me that the atmosphere was numbing. It made them feel numb. So they changed their priorities about what they wanted to do with What About You? And because, as I say, the original service offer was aimed at just their direct colleagues, people that worked with them for the same business, and the construction management team on nights. And what they realised was that following Adam's untimely passing, night shift support, particularly mental health, was required an uplift in efforts and across the whole spectrum of everyone. Adam was a logistics operative and he was driving on days. So it wasn't just about construction managers and the stresses they had, it was everyone across all parts of the business. So with their knowledge and experience of 30 plus years working on nights and in the aviation sector, they knew that what they had to offer required a bigger project. So they decided, in agreement and working with Adam's family, the Adam Taylor Project was conceived. It was a simple mission, and it was to prevent other families going through the heartache and grief caused by suicide. And to do that, they're encouraging people to openly talk about their issues in a safe and non-judgmental setting. Because poor mental health, and I know this from my experience, is a deeply personal matter. I've chosen to be vocal about it. I still find it difficult, and I have crisis of conscience about whether I should be spreading my story and the story of those people close to me, because it is deeply personal. But without having that ability to talk and get support, I'm not sure how people get through it. to be honest. So behind every case lies a unique human story, stories of grief, pain, suffering, isolation, and so much more. So what they want to do, the Adam Taylor Project, is going to be a night shift, face-to-face mental health provision initiative, offering free to attend support sessions across the Heathrow campus. And this has been supported amazingly by two colleagues at Heathrow at the client, Suzanne Kinley and Pete Waddingham, two wonderful people. Johnny and Matt want to end this stigma surrounding poor mental health, or try and push and improve mental health and help people through the power of conversation. Like I say, Adam's family have been consulted with and kept informed of the ATP developments, and they are 100% behind the boys on this and what they're doing. So they will be providing free sessions, free of charge, open to all staff across all grades and all businesses within our supply chain and up into the client. People will just be able to turn up and talk as little or much as they want, or just be in the company of others that have been through difficult times. There will be trained mental health first aiders that will be there to facilitate the sessions, and completely confidence will be absolute paramount, but able to signpost people to how they may be able to help themselves. So these will happen at 4:00 in the morning, whilst most people in the world, and I dare say a lot of listeners to this podcast, might still be asleep or just about to wake up, ready for their day shift. And these begin on the 30th of October, 2025. And the first anniversary of Adam's tragic passing is on that day. I'll be in attendance because I want to support Johnny and Matt and be part of that important initiative. But as I said earlier, this is about changing the narrative, and what I'm most proud of my company, Mace, for doing is supporting Johnny and Matt at the airport and our client, Heathrow, supporting them in this initiative in bringing people together to allow them the opportunity to talk and bringing the solution to the workplace. Not sending people off to attack someone or to make a phone call, because not everyone's going to do that, to go and see a psychiatrist. Not everyone's going to do that at the initial outset. But just by allowing people the opportunity to easily attend somewhere whilst in the workplace, where they can talk, where they can seek help without judgment, without the need to get special permissions, and knowing that what goes on in that room stays in that room, what is said remains confidential, and allow people to understand that others around them have experienced mental health issues. Others around them will have guidance and want to hear. There's a saying that Tom Chapman uses a lot, and I love it. Love it because it's so hard-hitting and poignant. I'd rather listen to your story than attend your funeral. And that is harsh, but it's true. And I mean that for everyone. And I take that on my shoulders, even when I was going through my own mental health issues. Helping other people helped me. It allowed me to be myself again. Colleagues across industry, people in the community where I live. It was just amazing. And be there for those that were affected when someone's story didn't end as we'd like. That is really important too. And I think organisations like the Lighthouse Charity can help you with that. I heard a great story as well recently. My wife attended a session in Wales, in Cardiff, of an organisation called the Jack Lewis Foundation. And I will send details out about that, and make sure that you can understand the regional events, the things that are happening local to people. We can all make change. This doesn't need to be a national helpline. It doesn't need to be a national campaign. It's about you and your community and the people that you know. And as employers or organisations, football organisations or sports or industry organisations, trade associations, allowing that conversation and giving it the support it needs is incredibly important. As I said before, I'm a football coach of a local football team. Being there for people that play football, for me, I'm the manager of the Underfins. Never thought I'd be a football manager. Being there for them, helping them through the difficult times and allowing them to be themselves and come to my training sessions and play in the football team gives them some purpose and some life. Same goes for my clients and my employer, where they're allowing the initiatives in their work time to be held and supported. It goes a long way, and it will pay you back tenfold. Trust me, because people trust you when you allow that to happen. The Lions Barber Collective stuff that I did, and I urge everyone with every business size to consider this as an option for someone to do. It's not a sales pitch, it's an impassioned, I saw this work. When the Lions Barber Collective first came, Dan Burnett, Tom Chapman, Rocky, all the different barbers came and set up with 4 chairs, 5 barbers, music playing, free haircuts emblazoned across our site with barbers who are all mental health first aid trained. And I know not everyone's a fan of mental health first aiders. You know what I say? They're just trying to do their best to help you and signpost you. But I had people come in that day who don't have the opportunity to talk to people all the time. They don't have the opportunity to go and get a haircut. Right? And a haircut is more than going and get this fuzz cut off. I look like a modern day Dave Lee Travis at the moment. I need a buzz. I'll go and see Dan to get that done. But it is half an hour where your phone's down because you've got a gown round you and you're talking to someone. My brother's a barber, fantastic barber. He's been doing it for a very long time. He's older than me. And it is that time to yourself, 15 minutes, half an hour, wherever your booked appointment might be, where you're looking after yourself. And it's not just the look. It's not just getting rid of the fuzz or straightening up your beard, or it's talking to someone who's not there to judge you. They're there to make you feel good about yourself. Your body releases hormones when you're touched that allow you to be more open and talk to each other and leave that barber's chair feeling good. Well, imagine if you can take that to your sites, take that to your offices, to your workplaces, to your events, your race days, your football clubs, wherever it might be, and have people go away. You might have saved someone that day. And if it costs you a few quid, worth every penny. Worth every penny. I'm going to tell you a story about one guy who was a crane driver on our project. And he had an afro, and we had a textured hair specialist barber as part of the offering. And this guy's crane drivers came to see me, and he said, "Listen, Gov, I ain't got time for this. I ain't going my afro out for ages. I ain't got an afro comb. And I would love to get a haircut, but, what's the deal?" And I said, "Listen, we'll talk to the textured hair specialist and he'll help you." And he did, gave him a afro comb. Guy sat there, combed it out, getting frustrated with his own self. I'm going to get in trouble for this. I was the client. I was able to say, "Wait, get your hair cut, talk to the barbers, come see me if you want." About half an hour later, came out of what was our induction room at the time, sought me out. I didn't know this person, tough guy. And he said, "Man, you've just done the most amazing thing ever. And you should be proud of what you've done." I didn't realise I needed to talk to someone. I work 5.5 days a week. Takes me an hour, hour and a half to get to or from work each day. When I get home on a Saturday, I haven't got time to go to the barbers. It's time for my family. And then on a Sunday, I've got to do my chores, my laundry, my gardening, whatever it might be. And then I'm back to work on a Monday. And it can be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks at a time before I get a chance to go. And I never get to talk about that pressure because I can't take time off really because, got to get the jobs done. My holidays I have to save up for the school holidays because, childcare is so expensive, and what do you do in the summer? I didn't know this name of the chap that I was talking to, but I could see the joy in his face that we'd allowed him the opportunity to have a bit of self-care, a bit of love for himself, and that is priceless. I don't think you can underestimate just how incredible that feeling is. So listen, I won't go on much longer. It is about changing that narrative. It's about how we can help. And it's about empowering the people we work with to know themselves and their colleagues best. So for those that say, what are these companies doing in our industry to reduce the number of suicides in construction? Well, from my experience, it's empowering each other to help each other, being behind people and saying, yep, you can do that. We'll support you. We'll give you the strength you need. I love what Johnny and Matt are doing. If you're on Instagram, you can find them. Search what about ye. What I think it's _what_about_ye. I'll put the links in later. They're truly inspirational. I share a lot of their posts on my own podcast Instagram account, Hard Hats and Headspace. And it just gives you a lift, seeing Johnny being honest and running around the perimeter of the airport and talking about mental health in general and sharing posts about encouraging you to talk and inspirational quotes. It's not for everyone, but that doesn't matter. It doesn't want to be for everyone. It wants to be for those that need it. So I hope this podcast today helps someone, helps you speak out. This helps me every week in taking care of my own mental health. It helps me to know that hopefully someone else will seek that guidance and advice. And one final piece. If you work for an employer that offers you private medical insurance, by God, use it. Saves lives, whether it's mental health, whether it's cancer, whether it's issues with musculoskeletal injuries that are going to affect your mental health because you're not feeling right. Use it. Please use it. So I hope you all have a great week. I hope this podcast hits home and is interesting. Love to hear your feedback. It's important to me and it should be important to everyone else. So I hope the week goes well. September's upon us. The kids are back at school. Routine is back in place. Have a lovely week.